tomorrow, we sail into the unknown. Even if we fail, we lay the trail for those who come after. We are Expedition 33.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we're talking about one of those experiences, man. We're talking about one of those experiences where when you watch a TV show, you watch a movie, or you play a game, it's the feeling that you get maybe once every half a decade or so, but when you feel it, it is one of the most powerful emotions to overcome your entire body and just takes over your existence for a stretch of time. That experience is Clair Obscur Expedition 33 in a nutshell. It's a feeling I have not experienced since 2020 when I played Persona 5 Royal, which for those who don't know is one of my favorite games of all time and went on to push me into game development because I felt so inadequate. I felt like I was doing life wrong. I made massive career changes, massive goal changes of what I wanted to do in my life because of an experience that moved me in such a powerful way. And I never thought I'd feel that again because it was just at a unique point in my life. I was just young enough to kind of change focus, change visions, at the same time as being old enough to receive such powerful messages. So to be pushing 30 in just a couple of months and to have a game like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 absolutely knock me on my ass every step of the way was an experience I'll never forget. This is absolutely one of the best video games I have ever played. And not only that, but in today's industry where the new standard for game prices are about to be set at around $80, potentially even more, I look at the price that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is charging you, by the way, ignoring that this is day one in Game Pass, where this is a game that is going for $50. And when you look at its production value, its fidelity, you look at its combat, the actual cast members, they got Charlie Cox in this thing, all the way to Ben Starr, Jennifer English, like well-known, renowned talent, plus all that production value, as I mentioned earlier, an incredible score, all packed together for $50. I feel bad that I am able to get the game for this cheap, but this is what the medium is all about from top to bottom. It is a tight 30-hour RPG that you can get much more mileage out of as you can get a lot of endgame content and optional stuff to do, and it's really fun, might I add, but this is a tight 30-hour game that tells you a absolutely beautiful, thought-provoking story that will blow your mind, but also one that will move you deeply. And even if it doesn't move you deeply, I can practically guarantee if you like turn-based combat or action combat, you will have fun with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It is a game that I make the rare exception for when I review a game. Normally, I have my bullet points up on my screen here. I'm reading off of them, but I feel like with a game such as Clair Obscur Expedition 33, I'm not properly expressing my feelings and how this game just absolutely crushed me in so many ways. I, not to sound cliche, laughed, cried. I cried a lot, man. I cried so much playing this game, but I was so happy playing it. Like, this is what, I don't know, I'm gonna tear up talking about, this is what I do this for. It is such a special experience, and I just urge you, you can click off the video and just go download the game. Like, you do not need to hear anything else from me or anybody else as far as I'm concerned. And at the very least, I really hope you try it on Game Pass. By hour one in this game, I went, oh, this is gonna be special. I mean, take a moment here. I'll finish my thought about what I was gonna say a second earlier. Listen to the title menu for just 10 seconds. Last time I heard a title menu like that, I went, this is gonna be an incredible experience, Dragon Age Origins. There's just something about a title menu like that, that music hits and you go, oh, okay, yep, this is gonna be just peak fiction. But to my point earlier, as I was getting at, normally I write down notes for all of these games that I review because I wanna make sure my thoughts are collected, but when an experience hits you emotionally so strongly, so powerfully, I feel like the emotion, that is the thing you convey to the person who's looking into buying this game. So this is unscripted. This is literally me going off the dome, just talking to you about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Rebound. This is one of the best games I've ever played. Let's talk about it. There's very little I want to even say about the story because it is one that you should 100% experience for yourself. It is a game that I think really strokes the player's intelligence incredibly well as you go through. The ambiguity, the confusion, the mystery really pulls you forward, but it's a game that does storytelling so perfectly, in my opinion, because it goes from personal to grand to personal again, and it just makes it where the scale of the plot feels big and believable, and everyone's getting impacted by it, yet it's feeling small town vibe. Like, this is gonna really hurt, or this is gonna make you really happy. Like, this is gonna make you feel a lot of emotions. And again, by just hearing the soundtrack, you'll just know that's the type of game you're playing. But this is a story that I just think hits all of the emotional beats. I was surprised when it genuinely had me laughing. Shout out to Minoko, just hilarious character. But this is a beautiful cast of characters. Pretty much all of them landed for me. You know, you have Gustav, who is Charlie Cox, dude. Charlie Cox in the main role of a turn-based RPG. What world are we living in? That is a flex. That is a generational flex that you can say, we got Charlie Cox, the actor behind Daredevil, into a turn-based game, and he kills it. He kills it. You get Jennifer English, and by the way, I love Shadowheart, easily her best performance. Mael is one of the best characters you will ever see in a video game. I'll just leave it there. In fact, I'm very tempted to just leave the entire story conversation there, because it is just a world that you need to experience for yourself, a character arc that you need to experience for yourself. I think the only breadcrumb I'll throw your way is just the general setup, right? You see this number on a tower, and when that number changes, people gamage, they fade away. So it's a game very clearly about existentialism. It's a world where you're old when you're 30. Jesus, I'm turning 30 this year. I wonder what they're trying to say. But it's a game where adults are having kids at incredibly young ages. Kids barely get to know their parents. Orphans are extremely common in this world. And so it's a unique world building setup where you're going to fight fate. You know, these expeditions get sent out because they're trying to stop someone called the Paintress. And the Paintress is drawing this number on the tower. And when the number changes, you fade away, and that's it. So obviously all these people being affected by it want to go and stop it. That is your motivator from hour one. And in hour one, I was crying. Which, by the way, I make it sound like I'm such an easy crier online. I'm really not. But when it happened in hour one, I went, okay, check yourself, Matt. Maybe you're just having an off night. But as I got deeper in the game, the eyes welled up multiple times. And by the ending, I was like, oh my God, I was a wreck at my computer, dude. I was like, holy smokes. I don't think I'll play anything better than that in a long while. So I'm just gonna leave the story stuff there. Like, I know it's kind of vague, but it just is an experience, and maybe the idea of what the story is gonna be tackling initially will convince you to look into it. But just know you are gonna get one of the most well-performed turn-based RPGs. And that's kind of where I wanna transition into, while sticking with the story, but not really talking about the context of the storytelling, is how it's presented to you. This is what, ever since Final Fantasy 13 came out, all these turn-based RPGs have been running away from. And I get that it's not the vision for everyone, because not everyone loves turn-based gameplay, but I think there's a ton of action elements in here that make the turn-based really work well for all types of fans, as I'll talk about in the gameplay, but on a production value level, right? Like, I'm very accustomed to the big RPGs, the turn-based RPGs in our current gaming ecosystem being like an Octopath Traveler, a Persona 5 Royal. When you get turn-based elements on a big scale and a big popular game, it's something like Rebirth, where it's like 70 action and like 30% is gonna be your turn-based, you know, just picking your moves and kind of strategizing briefly on the fly. Or maybe a Metaphor ReFantasio, like action combat that sets up the turn-based, like that kind of level of accessibility. But here, for this game to just be like, no, we're going all in, like this is a massive AAA production and we're treating it like it's our final game. I hope that this industry supports the hell out of this game. I need to know what Sandfall Interactive does next. I cannot just have, no one should just have one game from a team this talented. But that production value really does set the game apart. There are very few turn-based games since Final Fantasy 13, which, hey, guilty pleasure of mine, by the way, that chase the production values that this game does chase. I'm talking about the facial animations, the motion capture. I'm talking about even just the fidelity in general, the lighting passes that this game goes through, the scale and scope, the skyboxes. This is a game that is a visual treat. It's not artsy like menus in Persona, but just pure, that kind of AAA fidelity. And it puts it on a whole other level compared to the turn-based competition. So that combined with just phenomenal acting, phenomenal storytelling really does culminate in what I think is a amazing tale that you just, again, you won't see it coming. It just, the way they handle everything, I'm like, this was brilliant. I don't know how you think of this, but this was brilliant. So without sounding like a broken record, I'm gonna leave the story there. Combat, like I said earlier, even if you don't care about this story, which check your soul if you feel nothing playing this game, but if you do play it, you're like, I'm mad, I'm a rock basically, dude. Like, I'm not gonna feel anything playing this. Okay, fair enough. You're gonna have fun. Maybe you won't smile because you're a rock apparently, but this is an incredible turn-based combat system. It takes elements from Paper Mario, it takes elements from Sekiro, it takes elements from Persona, from Final Fantasy, and puts them all together into what really feels like, when you add in the progression system, the spiritual sequel to one of my favorite JRPGs ever in Lost Odyssey, which is something I never thought I would get. And for those who have watched me for a while, and we have a retrospective here on this channel, you know how I feel about Lost Odyssey, one of my favorite games ever as well. So the turn-based at its core fundamentals is this. You have attacks, so you can just do your basic attack on enemies. You have skills. Skills are per character, and pretty much every character, think of it like Final Fantasy character design, where they're kind of their own classes. Like Gustav, as he lands, basic attacks can build up this thing called overcharge. And then when he unleashes his overcharge, if it's maxed out, it does incredible damage. Lune has stains that build up on her weapon based on elements she uses in attacks, as well as her basic attacks. And there's upgrades I'll talk about in a little bit that you can get that just fill up this stain meter, basically. These stains then can be used to enhance or pay for spells of hers that make them way more powerful or give her another turn. And then there's characters like Seal, who have like 2 types of trading cards, so she can apply like foretell on enemies through a particular type of attack. There's a couple other characters as well, but I'm gonna leave them to, again, discovery, because I think one of the true joys of this game is as each character is introduced, they're also introducing new mechanics to the story. So I'm just gonna keep it with the core fundamentals. But you have characters that are designed like this, and then on top of the skills, you have defense turning into offense in this game. So pretty much offense functions a lot like, I'd say, a Persona 5 meets even Trails, because Trails has like the SP bar that builds up on like basic attacks and whatnot. But think about it in reverse a little bit. So after you take your turn, then when the enemy attacks, you can dodge them, but you have to time the dodge well. So think of it like, again, Paper Mario, where you have to do like a jump at the right time or something along those lines. But the way it's telegraphed, the way it's visually communicated is very Sekiro-esque. Like, it's great usage of sound design, great usage of visualizing, animating, using lighting to communicate to the player when the attack's about to happen, while also doing enough hesitation and whatnot to mess you and your timing up and trick you enough. It's brilliant. Like, it's, again, unbelievable. This is the team's first game doing all of this, but nonetheless, you have that, and then there's a tighter window because the dodge is a little bit more forgiving. Still, you got to pay attention to pull it off, but then there's the parry window. And the parry window, if you parry enough attacks, allows you to open up counterattacks and bounce back at opponents. It just absolutely, that alone is the core of the combat. And if it didn't evolve beyond that, I still would be sitting here gassing it up, because every fight, I was chasing down every encounter, every boss. It did not matter who you were. I was coming for you because I wanted to play the game. It is, call my shot here, the best turn-based combat I've ever experienced. And I put Persona 5 Royal on that level. That was where I was at because of the baton passing and the one more system. And I'd say these two are like neck and neck, but I think Clair Obscur's defensive mechanics do put it just slightly above P5R. But even if you don't agree at the end, I just want to communicate to you, I find it to be in that company in the terms of combat. There are different forms of parrying, there's different forms of attacks you'll eventually unlock. Again, I will leave that to you to discover. Let's stick with more core principles for this game. How about progression? So as you kill enemies, you level up. Attribute assignment, I definitely paid attention to it, but I think by the end game, when the scaling was kind of just evening out a bit, paid less attention to it. There's also a skill tree, so as you level up, you get skill points, you can unlock new spells, and by the time I finished the game, I actually didn't have every skill, so you have to be pretty picky with all of this. Same with that attribute allocation, like in the early going to the mid game, and by the late game, when your build is really rounding out, you really want to make sure everything's fully in line, but you can respec in both of these with an item called Recoat. So you can, oh, I messed up doing my skill tree, or oh, I messed up with the attribute system. You can redo all of that if you're worried about it. And these items are plentiful, so you don't have to, again, worry too much about having to redo them if it's something you made a mistake with. And like I said, you're going to be fighting a lot in this game, so the fun factor's there, but also it's just the vibe. Like, listen to just 15 seconds of like this vibe and this atmosphere. These are locations in the game. This is music in the game. Listen, look. So yeah, as you're romping through areas that just have you, like your eyes are falling out of your head, you're like, okay, how did y'all do that too? On top, like this is your first game again, like what is going on here? How do you do this? Anyway, after all of that, you're gonna go ahead and unlock Luminas. Remember how I talked about in Lost Odyssey, you had the mortals and the immortals, and you'd link them together, and so they'd be able to learn skills from one another. It's kind of a similar idea here. Basically, there's 3 Pictos that you can equip. Think of these like buffs, like, oh, you get an additional AP on a basic attack, or you get an extra combo for your basic attacks. These things on top of like, oh, you have a percentage to mark an enemy if you use a free aim hit, which by the way, this game can turn into a third-person shooter briefly. You can literally aim at your enemies and shoot them, and there's weak spots on them that you can target. Just every mechanic in this game is so well thought out and so well explored. The bosses are each so different and don't just have the same repetitive mechanics. Like, it's just so smart. Some bosses are about parrying, some bosses are about targeting elemental weaknesses, others are about targeting like counterattacks, others are about dodging them. It's just incredible. But as you're doing all this fighting and you're getting these Pictos, when you do 4 fights, the Pictos get saved as a Lumina, and then you can go into your Lumina and permanently equip it. At first, this was gonna be like my minor equip of the game because I was like, I'm a little confused and the menu navigation wasn't fantastic, but I eventually just got a hang of it. I don't know if it was like, I just got a hang of it because, as I've described before, some games are like a messy bedroom. Like, it's a mess when someone steps in here, but I know where everything in here is. So is it really that messy? I can't tell you for sure what kind of vibe it's going to be for you, but for me, I figured it out, and it didn't take too long to do so. But the Lumina is a permanent unlock of the effect that's in the Pictos. And so Lumina has its own currency, if you will, and you can take items that you find in the environment and spend it to unlock more Lumina, so you can, once you switch out these 1 of 3 Pictos, you can permanently equip that status effect to your character. And also, when you unlock that status effect, it goes to all of the other characters. So if Gustav has a Picto that allows him to do more critical percentage chance damage to a enemy that's on fire, when he does the 4 battles and unlocks that, Lune can now use that. Then there's weapon upgrading. There's also upgrading your resources in like a kind of Souls-like way, where you have like a limited amount of revives, a limited amount of energy items. It's not like a game that just pours items into your pocket constantly, so you'll have like 90 health potions by the end of the game. It's like, here, you get 1 health potion, you gradually get more over time if you find shards out in the world, but you get 1 health potion, and when you rest at a bonfire, basically, enemies respawn, and you also get your potions back. So think carefully, but it also incentivizes exploration, which I'll talk about in a moment. And I think that system works really well together, but it addresses one of my biggest, I guess, gripes about turn-based, is just that the item system is fine as is. And I think many of us are just guilty of not really thinking much of it, because that's just what turn-based combat has been forever. But this game dares just to shake so much of it up, like even on that minor level, like, no, we don't need 1,000,001 items. Like, let's just put a lot of loot in this game, which are Pictos and weapons that have their own special effects, and they have different special effects that unlock per level. Again, crazy. But your items that you use to heal, it's like a heal item, an energy item, a revive item. That's it. And it encourages you to use all of your skills for your character. So like Lune can unlock a revive spell, which allowed me to save on revive shards. So it's so well thought out, man. I hope I'm selling it well. All right, I'm gonna try to get some critiques out there, do my best here, because the game's not without issues at all, but I mean, I just think none of these impacted my experience at all, but I'm just mentioning them so I guess you're aware of them in case you hear it, you're like, oh, perish the thought there's not a local map, I'm out of here. But maybe that's a deal breaker for you. I just want to be fair. So yeah, that was one of the things I noticed that I think would have been great to have, is when I was navigating some of the mission areas, You can go back to these places at any point, so it's not the end of the world, but there were times there'd be a fork in the road, like go to Route A or Route B, and I take Route A and wonder what's on Route B, and sometimes Route B was the optional thing that I just missed because then Route A progresses the story. And that happened a decent amount of times where I was like, man, I wish there was a little bit of map or just a waypoint or something that guided me to the next step of my quest, just that I knew like, okay, that's the main story. I'm going to go this way then. So that's one that sticks out. Another thing that took some adjusting, and I think the game does keep it in check. There was not a single boss that I can think of where I went, oh man, that's really out of hand. But sometimes the camera pulls out to be epic and you'll have to dodge these attacks. And I wonder if some people are going to get skill issued by this game, if I'm quite frank. Like, I do wonder if some people will get filtered and be like, yeah, the way the camera works, it's just bad. This is bad combat design, that sort of thing. But I did not have any issues with it. I was playing this on my Steam Deck a lot. I was playing this on my PC a lot, and I was having a perfectly fine time of it. But I did know there were some times when I was seeing the attack for the first moment, I was like, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen where I dodge. Okay, I think you're going to attack here. I'm definitely going to get hit though. Again, I think the game does a good job at like putting flashes or indicators that, you know, here comes the attack, where you can time it out well. But still, it's something I could see enough people struggling with it. They're like, man, why wasn't I warned about this? So I'll throw that out there. The opening is pretty linear for the first 2 to 3 hours. And for those who don't like corridors, I mean, you get a decent amount of those. It does crack open the exploration within like an hour and a half, but then it really breaks open around the 3 or 4 hour mark. But I think if you can't handle that early on, you know, maybe you just, I don't know. Again, to me, it's like not a deal breaker, but I guess just, hey, be aware of these sorts of things in Expedition 33 if they really do put you off. But none of these impacted my experience really at all. Like nothing detracted from the absolute blast that I was having. I just enjoyed the power scaling so much. I enjoyed the world and exploration so much. The little side things I'd find, the little side conversations I'd even find. Yeah. But if any of these put you off, then consider yourself alerted now. While it is a story-driven game, Expedition 33 is open world's not the right way to describe it. It's as open world as, say, a Final Fantasy game, or if you played Lost Odyssey, it's about as open world as that. Like you have an overworld that you can walk around in and eventually swim in and then eventually fly in. But this is a world that gradually expands over time, giving you more and more freedom to go around, romp through side dungeons. These side dungeons don't have stories attached to them. It's just combat. But again, the combat's so fun. I never, ever, ever cared. And I promise you almost that you will not care either. It's just such a fun game to play. And you're always driven by getting like a new Pictos or a new weapon, or just honestly, the way Sekiro kind of grabs hold of people, where it's like, man, this is just addicting because I love learning boss mechanics and then overcoming them, or just skill checking myself and just seeing like, oh, I can get through this boss without getting hit. That is the incredible feeling this game provides, where again, it's kind of from soft coded. It's like when I saw a boss, I was like, let's go. Like, I want to fight that boss. Where some other JRPGs, it's like, oh man, another boss. Oh, here we go. All right, let's do it again. It's a little grindy and grueling. I never got that feeling here. So you can explore this world. You will find things like tournaments. You'll find different collectibles beyond what I described, like even record players, which you can play at the campfire. And by the way, there's almost like a persona system in this game. So you can rank up relationships with people in the middle of the story. It's not like full-blown social links and stuff, but there's literally relationship levels and time you can spend with these characters for side conversations. It's the full package. It's the full package. And again, I bet in the middle of this entire description, if you have been listening to this whole video, you probably forgot I'm talking about a $50 game. Look at it. It's a $50 game. What the hell happened to our industry if this can be sold for $50 on this production quality, on this scale? It's not like, oh, we're looking at a 10-hour little indie gem. No, it could go up to 40, 50 hours if you do every bit of side content. The story alone with some side exploration for me took me 33 hours. Crazy number, by the way. There's something spiritual about that with Expedition 33 hours. Okay, but that's what we're dealing with here. This is a game that should be, for an industry that, I'll call everyone out for a moment here, for an industry that complains so much, and I'm right there with you. I hope that people are ready to put their money into this game, because it is the type of thing that you want. It is the type of thing that should just be supported. It is really that good. It is. So that's the experience. That's Expedition 33, man. A beautiful soundtrack, a incredible, jaw-dropping, emotional story that manages to also hit an epic scale. Fidelity, unlike anything we've really seen in turn-based for a long while. And I know we can maybe throw in there like Marvel Midnight Suns, but I'm talking like traditional Persona style turn-based. Combat that is best in class. This is, to me, the new titan of turn-based RPGs. It was Persona 5. They had the crown for 5 years. They had almost 2 dynasties next year. But Clair Obscur Expedition 33 had other thoughts. And yes, obviously, it is my game of the year thus far. It is an experience, man. And I hope you check it out. It's on Game Pass. If you don't have Game Pass and you're like, I don't want Game Pass, $50, well worth it. If you are a turn-based fan, I think you're gonna love this. If you're like me and you didn't even play Paper Mario or things like that growing up, you're like, I don't know if I'm really into that. I usually am not into that, but this game made me fall in love with it just because of how fine-tuned the boss mechanics are, just the general combat mechanics are. I sincerely think anything about this game that gives you the gamer ick, you should almost ignore and just go for it. But that's just the emotional part of me talking, I guess. That's not fully rational, but you get the vibe I'm going for here. Like, this is a game that you should play sometime this year, at the very least. Shout out to Samfall Interactive for a timeless experience that I will carry with me forever. This is what it's all about, and I hope they feel good about what they made. I imagine they do. They gave us like 2 weeks to play this game, but I really hope they feel, no matter what the outcome is, they feel very proud about the art they put into this world. This is an important video game, and I hope you all take the time to experience this. Thank you to Samfall Interactive for gracing us all with this beautiful piece of art. I'm done glazing now, although you'll hear me for years bring this game up to the point where you'll be tired of it. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough from me. Go play some Expedition 33, and I'll catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.